Hi, it's Julia Pierce, and this is part 4 to Jay's journey. At this point in my life, I really held on to the song Oceans by Hillsong. And my prayer really was to take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. So I found myself being told to do a few other things in obedience. And I will preface you that when I did them on faith, not really understanding what would happen after I did them. And I will say that I didn't want to do them, so God kind of forced me to have to do them through discomfort. I was pretty much given an ultimatum by the pastor of the church I went to. That was also the church that I went to with my college friend and mentor. And he pretty much just asked me, I need you to give me a formula for how you know what God is saying to you. I pretty much just told him, if you're asking me to put a formula on God, that's not faith. And I'd really seen him fail me as a pastor and an authority. So he pretty much told me that I couldn't serve in the church anymore. So I left. And then I started seeing things happen in my job, the same one that I worked also with my friend from college and mentor. And because there were a lot of projects that required his participation for the changes to be made, and he refused to show up to meetings, it started causing issues for me with my managers. And the manager that I had that fought for me because he saw what was going on, coincidentally, he ended up suddenly fired. And now I had nobody to fight for me at work. So because I already knew that the Lord was asking me to leave my job, and I had seen that God works through the desires of our hearts and the lack thereof, but also that he gives us a window of opportunity to do things of our own volition. And because I didn't, he had to kind of force his hand. So he told me that they were plotting firing me. So I went immediately and I gave my 2 weeks notice. And they asked me to stay for 3 weeks to finish out the pay cycle and train 2 people to replace me. This was really an act of mercy for the Lord to show me, as it spared my work history. And then shortly after, I realized that my friend was now bringing his new lady to Bible study, so of course I shouldn't go. And that was pretty much confirmed to me when the lady who was over the Bible study, who was my former friend, called me over to her house and said she wanted to talk to me. Now, I'd like to preface here that this is the same lady that I found who was very controlling, very manipulative, was, in my opinion, choosing to keep this person and I from resolving our issues. She pretty much made choices for me and him, and really the Lord. And I think that she thought that she was really doing a good thing. So, in retrospect, I'm not really mad at her, and I miss her. But all that to say, I was pretty much just at a place now where I was kind of cutting and running from all of the things that I believe God used to bring me closer to this man that I believe he was preparing me as a wife for. And it really just reminded me of the Israelites when they were going into the promised land. And they got really scared of the giants and decided that they didn't want to go anymore. So I really believe that the Lord was saying to me, Julie, you're not going to be able to go into this land anymore because you have someone else and other people who are unbelievers. But I will say in retrospect that I also see how I was the one afraid to go in. See, there were things that after he did what he did to me that I was asked to do to show that I wasn't angry, that I refused to do. And I really think that if I would have done them, that it might have changed things. But either way, so it was time to move forward. And so since my now husband had made his intentions known and I had these visions to confirm it, I decided to embark on the journey with him. And so we moved to Atlanta, or right outside of it, because he wanted to be in ministry. And I had a really large 401k that I was able to draw on for several months. So we rented a 3-bedroom apartment in Atlanta. One for him, one for me, and one for our 2 sons to share. Now I will say that we tried to get married a few times while we were up there, and it just didn't seem to work out. And so there's a woman who was a great mentor to me, and she said, if you know that God has promised you to one another, then all you have to do is have your marriage in His sight. See, documents were made to keep control over us through marriage, birth, death, probate, all of that stuff. And so my husband and I had a secret ceremony where we pretty much just pledged ourselves to one another with God. And for 6 months, we worked to try to get jobs. He actually had a job that didn't work out so well. Stay tuned for part 5.